Raptors 114-105. Then after that, on Saturday, they beat the Pelicans 112-110. Cat had a monster freaking game, 30 points, 15 rebounds. Karl Anthony Towns is so legit, so for real. It's awesome. It's oh man, it's everything we've been hoping and praying for as T-Wolves fans since we traded away Kevin Garnett to the Boston Celtics years ago. Then we followed that up the very next day with an embarrassing loss in Dallas, 128-101. And then tonight we hosted the Wizards, and like I said, that was at home, a winnable game. Nothing against the Wizards; they're actually a decent team, especially with John Wall at point guard and Beal, and just they got some good young players. But they're an underachieving team this year, and the Timberwolves, with the talent they've shown that they have on that roster now, and where we're at in the season, that's a game that you got to, on your home court, either win or lose, to a game-winning buzzer beater type of shot, last possession type of thing. Like, you can't just get, outplayed pretty much the whole time. Granted, the score was still respectable, but, they're never really, watching this game on and off the best I could tonight, there really was never any moment where you felt like the T-Wolves were going to take that turn, be in control, win the game, get the lead. Nothing like that. Just always chasing. But I saw an interesting fact that I wanted to bring up, and then we will get to the two releases that they had. Actually, two pieces of news, because I should announce that it has been announced that Karl Anthony Towns of the Minnesota Timberwolves will win the Rookie of the Month award for the month of January in the NBA, and that makes him a perfect 3 for 3. He has won every Rookie of the Month award in the NBA this season. So if you still think that some numbnuts, super tall, overstretched out Justin Bieber lookalike named Kristaps Porzingis or any other rookie in the NBA this year, seriously, Porzingis is like a Gumby version of Justin Bieber. But nobody has a shot at this. It is Karl Anthony Towns award, period. He could get injured in the next game, knock on wood that he doesn't, anytime soon. But he could not play another game the rest of the year. It should still be his award. The numbers he's putting up are historic, absolutely historic. Just look it up sometime, because I don't have time to go into all of Big Cat's historical, where he ranks what he's doing at his age in the NBA. I don't got time for that right now. But in addition to that, now I happened to stumble across a fascinating stat today that I really wanted to share with everybody. It is, in fact, true and statistically proven that the Minnesota Timberwolves were the best offensive basketball team in the entire NBA for the month of February. That's right. The Minnesota Timberwolves offense for the entire month of February was better than the Golden State Warriors, was better than the Oklahoma City Thunder, was better than everybody's in the league. And yet, I want to say it amounted, our best run that we had, and there was like a 5-6 stretch, something like that. That might even be our record for the month, 5-6, because the All-Star break was in there. And that's why I wanted to bring it up, because we see the Warriors, we see their offensive identity, and they're winning all these games, and they won the most recent championship. And you think, okay, it's an offensive league, we just got to, work on our offense, be a good offensive team, we'll be successful. Not the case with the Timberwolves at all. And don't tell me for 1 second that our players can't play defense. Rubio's not a great defender, although he's okay. Wiggins is definitely not a great defender. Levine is not a great defender, but I think his is mental, not physical. Big Cat is a phenomenal defender. Gorgie Jang is a pretty good big man defender. Shabazz Muhammad can't play defense, but we're not ever really asking him to play defense. But so while we could use a few better, just more talented defensive players on the team, most of what we have is at least serviceable, should be coachable, and that's where I feel Sam Mitchell is just really proving that he can't get this team to develop and turn the corner that it needs to as a franchise with all of this young talent. We've got a small window. We're really, really, really similar to where the Oklahoma City Thunder was and what they were back when they had Harden with Westbrook and Durant all in their first contracts. We're very similar with our Levine, Wiggins, and Big Cat situation. Big Cat would clearly be Durant. Wiggins would have to be Westbrook, and he's not even close to that. And Levine would have to be Harden. Levine, and that's not too big of a stretch. But Wiggins and Westbrook, that's a big stretch. But the point being is that this phenomenally talented young core that we've got to build a hopefully extremely competitive team around for the next decade plus to come needs to get better, needs to improve by far the most defensively. Their defense is atrocious. And in the NBA, that is much more, in my opinion, a coaching thing. You know, like all these guys are fast, all these guys can jump, you know, all these guys can work when they want to work, but schematically they need to all, you know, be taught extremely well and be running a good system. And I don't think Sam Mitchell can say either of those things about what he's done defensively with the team this year. And so hopefully at the end of this year, Sam Mitchell either goes back to being an assistant coach or just goes somewhere else, period, and we can bring in a real head coach to maximize and really develop all around, especially defensively, the games of these young studs that we got on the team. But in the final bit of T-Wolves news, before we take a quick glance around the NBA and move on to college basketball talk, because we got a doozy of a story there to touch in on quick. As I've mentioned previously, the Timberwolves actually cut ties this week with two players that were on its roster this season up until this point. Backup veteran point guard Andre Miller and shooting guard Kevin Martin. Now, Andre Miller, like I said, backup veteran, old guy, not a whole lot to offer, and now that we are on the final 20-some games of the season, it's time to get some of those young players out there, develop them, see what we've got with them. And so, you know, you think that means more minutes for Tyus Jones as well as what Levine gets at point to go along with a healthy Ricky Rubio. And you can really see sensibly where there isn't a whole lot of room on this team for Andre Miller and where he's not really providing a whole lot of value to the team. He's not really, you know, helping Levine or Tyus learn the position by any means. So he was cut. Great guy, though. Really great, classy guy. And then Kevin Martin was actually bought out. He had a little over $7 million, I want to say, remaining on his contract for next year. And they just straight up bought him out, gave him the money, and said, you know, best wishes. Ironically, both players are looking to and expected to sign with the San Antonio Spurs, who have an injury to Manu Ginobili. He could be out with testicular problems. No lie. He's got nut issues and is out indefinitely. So we feel bad for Manu. Ginobili, as Barkley would famously say. But I could personally see Greg Popovich, head coach of the Spurs, and the Spurs being the type of team that could really get a ton of value out of a guy like Kevin Martin, who has shown that he can, you know, come off the bench and rip off 15, 20, 25 points in a game, you know, as a role-playing offensive shooter off the bench. And, man, that's, like I said, I could see that working out great for everyone involved. I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me if it did. Now, that being said, Kmart's attitude, you never know what that's going to be like, and it might not gel, and he might not even sign with them. Who knows? But good to be cutting dead weight, good to be making room for the future. I just wish that, you know, the T-Wolves could have traded Kevin Martin for a second-round draft pick or something, and then traded that draft pick for like $200,000 cash, you know, or something, like not just giving him his entire paycheck for next year and telling him he doesn't have to work for any of it. Like, ugh, seriously, contracts in the NBA, NHL, and Major League Baseball are all crap and handcuff the freaking teams that sign all these players to any substantial amount of money. But that's another topic for another day, too. So taking a quick look around the league, we already mentioned what's going on in San Antonio and what they're looking to do. They're still extremely hot and competitive and looking to make a championship run this year. Same can be said for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Cleveland Cavaliers, while they're the number one seed in the East all year, and they're actually healthy with their talent, fired their coach a while back, got a new coach, which we supported that. David Blatt was a Stum Hall of Famer from day one. But now there's been rumblings about Kyrie Irving wanting out. He's denied it. Nobody's going to let this Cavaliers team be in peace until they win a championship or until, it's the project is bailed on one of the significant pieces, LeBron or Kyrie or Kevin Love, not be there anymore. And then, of course, you got your Golden State Warriors, been the best team in basketball all year. They are legitimately going for the Chicago Bulls' all-time record of 72-10. That's the best regular season any team's ever had in modern NBA history. They are on pace to threaten and possibly tie or break that record. I know tonight they were going for their 43rd consecutive home win, which I want to say they said was one shy of tying the all-time record. But they have lost a game or two here coming out of the All-Star break as well. Not 100% healthy at the moment either, which I'm sure is a big factor in that. But again, with the way things played out last year, I've said this all along, I'm not rooting against the Warriors by any means. But what I am rooting for is I want them to have the hardest road possible to the championship so that if and when they win it, there are no asterisks. Their greatness can just be completely appreciated and acknowledged, and, it is what it is. Last year they had such an easy road. They didn't have to go through the Spurs, and they didn't have a healthy Cavaliers team to overcome who, in the first three games, Cavaliers went up 2-1 and were looking like they were going to very possibly win that series. Until the lineup adjustments were made and injuries played a factor. That was when the Warriors were able to turn that series around and win the game. But people try to remember it as just, they won 4-2, they were in control the whole time. They were, No, they really weren't. They had to turn that series around, okay? And everybody forgets it and needs not to. So that's what I want this year. I want the Warriors to have to go through the Oklahoma City Thunder in the semifinals, and then I want them to have to go through the San Antonio Spurs in the Western Conference Finals, and then I want them to have to go through a healthy Cavaliers team in the Eastern Conference Finals. I want all three of those teams to be healthy, and I want the Warriors to have to beat all three of those teams in best-of-7 series. If and when they do that, then like I said, I will love it. There will be no asterisk. There will be no doubt. Their greatness will have been unquestionably proven, at least in my eyes, and what I would hope would be the eyes of many sports fans and analysts alike. But let's switch our balls dribble focus from pro basketball now to the world of college basketball. And we don't really have time to dive into the top 25. However, now that it is March, expect over the next couple weeks here on the show for college basketball to be fairly prominent because, like I've mentioned, we need to start studying up for filling out our brackets here in a couple weeks. So expect a much deeper dive into the world of the NCAA basketball top 25 as well as conference, playoffs, tournaments, things of that nature as well. But this week, alas, we only have time for one college basketball story, and it's the only college basketball story in my opinion. Are you kidding me? And it's involving, of all teams, the Minnesota Gophers. So, in a nutshell, what we've got some Gophers participating in a threesome, videotaping that threesome, and then posting it on the internet. Only in Minnesota. In North Dakota, they got a lot of Gophers too. Yeah. Anyway, enough lame wildlife jokes. So, as